This week on Entertaining People, we're throwing a dinner party for 10, a formal party in the dining room. Here's the kicker. Everything is under $100, even including the wine. Stay tuned. This week it's a budget dinner party here on Entertaining People. I'm Porter William and we're gonna cook up this amazing Pacific salmon. I don't think there's anything that's more fun than having a dinner party with friends, and it can often be really intimidating. And in this economy, we want to make sure that cost is always a consideration. I know it sounds insane that we're going to have beautiful salmon, we're going to have a wonderful actual celery root puree, we're going to have savory tart, several different things, including a rum raisin Napoleon that reminds me of my dad. We're gonna do this whole dinner for 10 for under $100, including the wine. The secrets are yet to come, but let's get started with our salmon. Now, I had my fishmonger prepare me 2 wonderful fillets. And some of even your wholesale stores today, you can find salmon, large fillets at great prices. And we have 10 people coming, so what we're really looking to do is make 10 even cuts, and I want each one of these portions to be just about an inch or so wide. It's as simple as taking a nice sharp knife and go straight through your salmon. Each slice evenly. Let me go to the second one. We'll just take each of these slices across a broiler or a baking sheet on top of a regular cookie sheet that's got a little bit of depth, typically known as a jelly roll pan. And we're gonna line up each of our portions. This is what I call a speed poach. I actually created this years ago in college, trying to impress a date. And here's number 10. Let me show you my little poaching trick. Get a nice bottle of champagne. I'm actually gonna use a sparkling cava, which is the Spanish version of champagne, a sparkling wine. Champagne is really only from the Champagne region of France, and you wanna take off the cage right there. Of course, the secret, so that we don't let it pop, is you want to take your towel, hold it on the bottle, and simply twist the bottle. Most of that, perfect. And I just dredge all of our salmon, empty the entire bottle in the bottom of the jelly roll pan, and then grab your favorite olive oil and go right over the top of the salmon. What happens is that these ingredients are just gonna spill over and they're gonna make a beautiful poaching liquid. I'm gonna set this aside in my refrigerator until just about 20 minutes before my guests arrive. I'm gonna pop it in. It's only gonna take about probably 12 to 15 minutes to cook on a 400-degree oven. What we're gonna make next is a celery root puree. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but here's how it looks in the store. Kind of gnarly and dirty, but it's kind of cute just the way it is. I always like the underdog. I peeled 4 of these. Celery root just gives us a different dimension to the flavor than a potato. In our plate, we're gonna have a pile, a round of this puree, and then the salmon sitting right on top of it. There's also gonna be a horseradish cream sauce that's gonna go on top with some capers, put a little bit of anchovy in there for the salt. What I love about celery root, or celeriac, as it's often known, is that it really is not used. In Europe, you see it all over. It truly is a vegetable of the peasants because it was available in the fields and it would hold for a long time during the winter, just like in grandma's root cellar or a good potato. You could even make a celery root soup with this. I'm gonna grab my stock. So I've got 4 cups of vegetable broth and a half a cube of butter. And be careful because we don't want this to splash on you. You just want to fill up your pan. And once we have all the celery root in, I want to make sure that this is thick. So when I puree this later, I'm going to reserve 1 or 2 of these beautiful Yukon Golds to thicken it up with. We don't want to have any extra fluid in here because we don't want this running in the plate. There we have our celery and our potato, 1 or 2, all ready to go. This is going to simmer for probably about 30 minutes, just on a low heat. Cover that, and when we come back, we'll start with our next course. Next up is going to be a savory tart. You're going to love this. Now, you've seen me use puff pastry many, many times. If you have a marble counter or a granite counter, it works great just to simply throw your dough right on the counter and roll it out. If you don't, then maybe you can buy a pastry board or use a silpat or some other option that's available. First thing we're going to want to do is we're going to dust our counter. And I'm using a store-bought puff pastry, which is really, in this day and age, it's the best way to go. You want to take it out just when it thaws because the butter content is very, very high. First one we're going to set aside. I'm going to grab my rolling pin, and you'll want to make sure that you get a lot of flour on your rolling pin. So this is in 3 folds. Just very gently reach in and pull your puff pastry apart. All right, now I like to turn it over, brush it with my hands with the flour, and since we're going to be filling an entire cookie sheet, we're going to start rolling it lengthwise. Look how simple that is. Just pulled straight out. And that's pretty much it. It's just about 2 pushes to the left, 2 pushes to the right, and then bring your back end down. Grab a cookie sheet, and what I like to use is a pizza peel when I'm cooking with a tart, in or out, and we're going to just try to basically fold it and quickly pick this pastry up, lay it on the sheet, and then we're going to want to unfold it right there. Now this is a rustic tart, which means we don't have to have fine edges and perfectly crimped items on here. We're really just looking to make something as a base for these next ingredients, which are going to be sliced tomatoes, goat cheese, and our herbes de Provence. I'm going to start with my goat cheese and literally just chunk it off from your knife right on the tart. Now when you're laying ingredients on a wide plane like this, you want to make sure that each bite has some of each of the flavors in there, so the distribution is good. With spices, we like to season high so we get the distribution, and with cheeses, we want to go low so that we can be specific where each lump is falling. This is just a domestic chèvre, a goat's cheese you can find in any grocery store. If you'd like to use an herbed or a peppered goat, that works as well. There's even some garlic ones. And you'll find goat cheeses from the Latin American countries as well as the European. The next step is going to be to slice some beautiful tomatoes. Now, if you're in the winter season, don't fret because we're going to bake these down. Very simply, we're just going to make nice, even slices. This is an appetizer that we're serving as a first course, and I want a lot of color and a lot of punch, so I like nice, almost paper thin slices of tomatoes. We're just going to lay our tomatoes over the cheese. So we're going to need probably 3 more on this side to get to 10 servings so that everybody has an even tomato. Let's just trim that. 9 and 10. Anybody could do that. We're going to now herb this with some beautiful lavender petals and some herbes de Provence, which is a mixture of thyme and tarragon and oregano and all the flavors of the Riviera, which if you've watched, you know that I use quite a bit. I think what would really be great is a little bit of peppercini salt. Look at these wonderful smoked flakes. We'll put that over the top. And then let's finish with our fleur de sel, our French beautiful salt. Last thing, on any tart, we're gonna need a little moisture. And in this case, I'm gonna use olive oil like I always do. Drizzle. Make sure you get right on top of those tomatoes because they're going to cook and they're going to need the moisture. 400 degrees, probably 20 to 30 minutes, just pop it in. I like the top or middle rack on these. I'm going to go right into the top, and then we're going to come right back to that same dusty hearth, and we're going to make the base of our rum raisin Napoleon. Same thing of puff pastry, just going to unfold it again, and you'll want to flour your rolling pin. Now what we're doing here is we're going to make a crunchy cold Napoleon. I've got some vanilla ice cream and I'm going to make some rum raisin. I remember living in Boulder, Colorado, and Haagen-Dazs ice cream had just opened, one of their very first stores in the US. And my dad and I would go down there and he loved rum raisin. As a kid I thought it was the weirdest flavor, but honestly I've come to love it. All right, let me move my pizza peel and get out that same size cookie sheet. My kitchen is filled with the same stack of cookie sheets. And if you'd like a great gourmet hint for the home chef, go to your local restaurant supply. They sell these in boxes of 12 for just pennies on the dollar. Really is a very simple way to do it. Now I'm gonna grab a pizza cutter, you can use a knife, and what I'm looking to do is basically make puff pastry ribbons. And again, I've got 10 people and I want 2 stacks, so I'm looking actually for about 20 slices. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and our extras for mistakes, all right? And we're gonna stack them, so follow me through, and I'm gonna square this off. Each piece, we're just gonna mimic your sheet, and that way it's gonna fit. Lay them all out. You want a little bit of space because these are gonna puff up. And then we got to remember to really prick these a lot with a fork because we want them kind of flat and crispy. This is going in the same oven, and I'll see you right back. We're back on Entertaining People, and we're checking on that beautiful savory tart. Look at that, it came out perfect. My guests are gonna love this. And I'm gonna move right on to our dessert topping. This is the rum raisin that I was telling you about. I have these beautiful Sunsweet blonde raisins. I like the light colored raisins as opposed to the dark with rum raisin. It really is personal preference, but a couple of big handfuls. Remember, we're feeding 10 people. I have a whole box of sweet raisins right here. And then I'm gonna add, that's right, it is rum raisin and they don't make it up. You can get an imitation rum flavoring if you like, but I'm actually using about a full cup of rum. And you can hear that starting to saute. We're gonna put just the tiniest little bit of butter once this gets going and about a cup of water, which I'm gonna add. When we come back in probably about 30 or 40 minutes, those raisins are gonna be plump and luscious. We're gonna bite into them and then we're gonna put it together with our vanilla rum raisin Napoleon. Here are my frozen ice cream pieces and I'm gonna build one of these for you, and then I know you can do it at home. These are our puff pastries that we started with. Look how well those came out. Beautiful with some brown sugar, and that's gonna be the base of our rum raisin Napoleon. And then just simply grab one of these slices of ice cream. We set them all in the freezer individually so they come right off. You gotta work kind of quick. And then the memory of rum raisin. Look how these came out. Plump and beautiful. In fact, hold on. Those are really great. Okay, they won't mind. I'm gonna grab another spoon. What we're gonna do is mix that up so that the juices are completely incorporated. And give this guy another top. Beautiful little Napoleon. And look at that. Oh, the easiest dessert. Now this is gonna go back in the freezer. It's gonna hold, and we're gonna bring that out to our guests. I think that's gonna be great. Checking on our celery root. That looks exactly what we're looking for. Now, I'm gonna use an emulsion blender. For those of you who haven't seen me use this before, you'll wanna pay attention. First of all, you wanna get it deep down inside, and here's your control. And when using hot liquids, always have a hot pad and just turn it a little bit away from you. And then we're gonna start emulsifying. And when we see the consistency of the starch is coming together, we're gonna have that beautiful puree that's gonna be the base for our salmon. Okay, that is the consistency that we're after. Now to thicken that up a little bit, I'm gonna leave the lid off, put it back on the burner, and keep the heat on for probably about 20 or 30 more minutes until we have a nice, firm puree. Next up is our caper sauce, and we wanna start with a cube of butter in a saute skillet. This is so easy. What I like to do, again, because of our smoking point, we've talked about using olive oils and butters together. Add a little bit of butter, a little bit of olive oil, just a tablespoon or two, and then I use a whole jar of drained capers. Look how lovely that is. And the Dijon mustard really is what brings some roundness to this. Now we're saucing, if you will, for 10 people. So we're using almost an entire cup, maybe a little bit less, about 3/4 cup. We're gonna control it with the sherry as far as the thickness, and a little bit of butter, again, is gonna give us the creaminess. Now the fight, or the bite, that should be in every sauce that's gonna really enhance the salmon is gonna be this lovely horseradish. And again, I'm gonna go right on top with 2, 3 heaping tablespoons. Once this starts to boil and bubble, we're gonna add a little bit of sherry and we're gonna let it reduce. When you're entertaining, often you have to think on your toes, but the trick is just to have a couple standbys under your belt. And in this case, I've forgotten the bread for our dinner party for 10, our budget dinner party, but I have some crispy lavash, which is just a flat bread, and I'm gonna make some cheesy crackers. It's gonna be really rustic. We're gonna break these into large chunks. I'm just gonna start with some olive oil, and we wanna coat this pretty heavily with Parmesan. I've got 4 sheets of the lavash. It's store-bought. I had some in the fridge. And what I like is that it's not such a heavy, everybody has a baguette at a dinner party. First of all, you don't need to spend the money. I also had some leftover Romano that I'm gonna just sprinkle on top with our olive oil. There's plenty of salt in this cheese, but just to make it interesting as a topic of conversation, I'm gonna use this beautiful Hawaiian salt, which I think is gonna actually complement the salmon. And we're gonna crack these off. These can go into the oven at about 400 for just about, oh gosh, maybe 5 or 6 minutes until the cheese melts. I'm smelling that crispy lavash, my substitute for the bread that I forgot, but the doorbell just rang. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull these out, see who's here early. It's the truth of entertaining, things change, and I'm just gonna go see if they wanna join me in the kitchen. Here's our crispy lavash, we're gonna break it up. Everyone's gonna love that for dinner. I was just telling everybody, the doorbell rang and I have a guest who's arrived early. That's good, you're always welcome. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Great, air kiss. All right, so here's what, I forgot the bread. I forgot the bread. So I just had some lavash and I did some Parmesan. I know you're a big cook. We always talk about it all the time. Do me a favor. I'm just gonna have you tear this into bits and pieces and just put it in this basket.
Okay, sounds great.
Front. And I'm gonna start our salad. I just decided to do a simple spinach salad. I'm gonna have you chop up some eggs for me, but I'm gonna do a pancetta, a warm dressing. I'm gonna get that going over here on the stove. And we're gonna continue to saute this. One of the things that's really important when you're doing a render, which is what I'm trying to do here, is to get the fat out of the meat, because that's going to be the vehicle, the catalyst that's going to carry the vinegars. I'm just going to let this sit here and saute. Let me help you with some of that.
Okay.
I just want something earthy and simple. We can kind of make a little drama there, a little entertaining drama if you want to stand them up a little bit.
Sounds good.
Oh, look at that. That looks perfect. So the pancetta is coming up. That's what I meant about being able to get that to render. Yeah, that's
how's that? Good?
Yeah, or even yeah, that's good, because you know what, they always fall apart when you start mixing them up, and I like to have nice chunks. I don't want egg salad with the spinach salad. It happens all the time. All right, so we've got our muscat vinaigrette already in. I'm going to turn the heat way up, and we're going to let this kind of reduce a little bit. I'm going to add some acid. You see me use vinegars all the time. This is again a white balsamic. Have you ever had a white balsamic?
I actually have not.
Okay, smell. Sniff.
Ooh.
Isn't that great?
Nice.
It's got the depth of a balsamic, but it's not the heavy syrupy feel, which sometimes I like.
Nice.
But just to do a vinaigrette, yeah, it's a sweeter element. Oh, Kel, come over here. This is a celery root puree that I'm going to put under the salmon. It's going to be wonderful.
Wow.
And check this out. This is our, sorry, babe. This is our caper sauce that's going to go over it.
Ooh.
We are all set. We're throwing a dinner party for 10, a formal party in the dining room. Here's the kicker, everything is under $100, even including the wine. Our table is set and the guests have arrived. I'm just getting ready to call them in. Here on Entertaining People, it's a budget dinner party and we're gonna do this entire meal under $100, including the wine. Let's talk about the tablescape. Look at this. This looks like a several $100 table, and that's the secret. When you really wanna save money on a dinner party, pull out all the stops, bring out your best stuff. Now lately, I've had a fancy for tarnished silver. I didn't even take the time to clean all this silver. We have a single rose in each little derby cup. We've used those in other episodes, and if you don't have a set, get yourself little mint julep tumblers. We use them all on Derby Day, and they make great little vases. Simple, clear, 2 matching glasses. We don't need anything colored, and we've got white napkins, basic plates, and I'm using an everyday set of silverware. Everything stacks in the order that you're gonna serve it in, which makes it very, very easy. Salt and pepper, you see our lavash crisp that Kelly helped me with earlier. We're gonna pass that around, just make it really warm. And here's a trick when it comes to lighting the table. Notice how I put my candle bunches in between the seats? Nothing worse than sitting at a dinner table and not being able to see the person across you. So I've put these to where they're just off people's shoulders. It's a great trick for entertaining. We have a beautiful tablescape, vintage silver, everyday flatware, easy to eat off of china. My guests are on the way, and when you come back, everyone's gonna be at the table enjoying this dinner. Welcome. We can actually start with our first course if you'd like. Hold your napkins, we're gonna have some fun. Check out the table, you guys. This is actually a budget dinner. Nick, I know you're looking at me like it's gonna be a lot more money. Cheese on it, really good. Kind of crunchy. Pass around, country family style. Thanks for coming, you all.
Oh, thank you for having us.
Let's start with the water.
Just so worth the wait. Thank you.
Pastry, the goat cheese, and tomato tart with some herbs Provence, and corrected. I'm no expert. I just love to do it. So I'm encore? C'est quoi? La chef. Okay, what's wrong with that? The chef. This is a beautiful roasted salmon. It has a caper Dijon sauce over the top, which I think you're gonna love. And it's a puree of celeriac and a little Yukon Gold. And there's just enough bok choy so that you don't feel guilty. Healthy. I didn't even season it. You know, all the rules have changed. And it really is eat what you love to cook, cook what you love to eat, drink what you like. It really is that simple. I think we can, make these rules.
All right.
Agreed.
This is a rum raisin Napoleon that I made with just a vanilla, and it's got a warm caramel sauce on top with some plump raisins that we've been marinating in some rum and some white wine and a little sherry on top.
Good friends. Yeah, I'll cheers to dessert anytime.
That's good. Delicious.
Another great dinner party here on Entertaining People. I'm Porter William. If you want to find out all these tricks and these tips and these techniques, go to entertainingpeople.com. To my friends, old and new, I see great faces around the table. I know you're going to be here for a very long time. Make this menu, any part of it that you like. It's great fun. Thanks for coming. Remember, from a memory, you can make a memory. And next time, I want you to join me when I entertain the world one table at a time. Cheers.
All right. Cheers.
Thanks.
Good friends.
To a good friend.